I'm doing my 1 to 2 hours of business plan this morning. It's a routine that I have, and my best friend Oliver, my third best male friend in the world, he told me that the benefits of having a routine are you don't have to work as hard as other people because the routine will do half the work for you. And I never really forgot that. And it also tends to be true with a lot of different things. So he's my third male best friend after my father and my older brother. And because you develop habits. So habits can basically be either good habits or they can be bad habits. So anything negative can also be spun into a positive. So if you create habits are super powerful and just sort of drive you mindlessly, so you might as well make them good habits. That way you're mindlessly driven into greatness and doing things that really help other people. So one of my favorite sayings is faith in all faiths. And like I've talked before, the second most popular and powerful brand in the entire history of the world is the flag of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia after the U.S. flag. The U.S. flag is specifically the most popular brand of all time in human history because of the moon landings. And we tend to develop the best technology first: nuclear weaponry, moon landings, internet, etc. And then the second most popular and powerful brand in the history of humanity is the flag of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And it's just worth knowing that, because that would probably constitute the most basic education you could possibly have. It doesn't matter that maybe 70-80% of the world doesn't know that. It still sits as a cornerstone of having the most basic sense of what's going on in the world. On the flag of the Kingdom of Cambodia, it roughly translates into English that there is no God but Allah, and second to Allah is Muhammad, his messenger. And it's important in Muslim culture, which is 1.3 billion people, that the man has the most power and the woman has the second most power. You even see, like, under Mecca and Saudi, another reason why it's so popular and powerful is it's the most robust power hierarchy in the history of the world. So what's at the top of the power hierarchy? Mecca. And this is like a little drawing of Mecca. And women aren't really allowed inside. Definitely not, but sometimes they are now. So you see, like, Mecca, Yemen, Mecca, Oman. It's easy to remember the location of Yemen because you have the Suez Canal right here, which is the hottest political hotspot in the entire world. It's one of the channels of distribution, or the most basic mechanisms of trade in terms of supply and demand economics in the world. And Mecca is right next to it, the holiest of holy sites, number one of number one of number one of Muslims, 1.3 billion Muslims. And you can say, oh, well, there's 2 billion Christians, but Muslims still are way more fundamental than Christians. So the 1.3 billion Muslims, the degree of veracity and intensity of their belief totally eclipses that of the 2 billion Christians. And so it's worth understanding why the U.S. flag, which is largely based upon a secular, godless government, and basically a bureaucracy, you can believe whatever you want, and then therefore we've achieved the greatest scientific achievements first, moon landings specifically, which put the U.S. flag as the most popular brand in the world. But I'm just trying to give you a little bit of context why the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is the most popular flag and the second most popular flag in the world to the most people in the world, because it has to do with the statistical percentage plus the intensity of the belief or the faith. So, it just is what it is. I mean, we can change it over time, gradually, in a way that helps everyone and respects everyone. You don't really want to change something to where it gets worse, you know? It's like the food industry's changed in America a lot, and it's the fattest country on earth now. You know, that's not a good thing. Like, You want to gradually change the food industry where people get healthier and more fit and happier than they've ever been. So change is not inherently a positive word. In a lot of cultures, they will defend the existing power hierarchy literally to the death, and I know that from having served in Iraq. And Muslims have taught me more about hierarchy and tradition and culture, pretty much more than anybody else on earth. And I'm very grateful for all my Muslim and Islamic friends and educating me in how the world works. So I've been to United Arab Emirates, I've been to Kuwait, I've been to Iraq, I've been to Egypt, I've seen the Suez Canal, the pyramids. And anyway, so I'm not just like, this isn't random to me. Like, I have a very profound, in-depth knowledge of what I'm talking about. And it's easy to remember Omen, oh man. Remember, just think about like, in terms of memorizing like geography on a global scale. Remember, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the second most important concept to understand on earth, basically. Again, it doesn't matter that 20, 30% of the world knows this. Like, it's the second thing they learn. And, just like my mother taught me, first and foremost, God is good. Is also a synonym for equal. So God equals good. Then every time I see a U.S. note that says, in good we trust, I think, yeah, okay, in good we trust. And that was a powerful priming that my mom gave me to understand the American culture better than other people, where other people are running around being judgmental and just critiquing everything that floats across their worldview. I'm like, okay, like, in good we trust. Being a scientist, probably more than a person of faith, I tend to think of God as a great unknown, and therefore I have a profound fear and a profound love for the great unknown, a profound respect for the great unknown. Omen is the opposite of opening of the Suez Canal. Man, and then Mecca, men, M-E-M-E-M-A. So it's kind of easy to remember that. These are like a note that I found that somebody wrote on, most likely someone who's Muslim. They said, thank you for the money that you've given me in my life. Muslims tend to have a lot of gratitude. And I would definitely bet on Muslims defending their faith to the death, way more than I'd bet on Christians doing that. And that's not an insult to Christians, it's just from my personal observations. I still think most people, at the end of the day, all religious people love science. That's one thing that's very misunderstood in the world. People will be like, oh, person's religious, they must be dumb. Or that's Western culture. That's basically never true. Like, all religious people simultaneously love their faith and will defend it to the death, first and foremost Muslims, and then they also simultaneously love science. They just don't want power hierarchies to be undone, and then they don't want to see the world thrown into chaos, basically. So I'm on 1 hour and 25 minutes of my business plan. And very soon I'm going to get another binder for TopWiki's 500-page business plan, and more plastic sheets. But it just keeps me completely mission focused. The point of TopWiki, top is a synonym for theory of polyverse or theory of multiverse. And I know it seems kind of like an offensive term, like, what do you mean TopWiki? Like, our Kingdom of Cambodian flag is on the very top. I'm honestly a little bit sorry. I created this 5 years ago at a different period in my life when I was basically like depressed and angry at everyone in the world and pretty much angry for ever being born. And so I just thought, okay, we need a multiverse wiki or a theory of polyverse wiki that basically acts as the evolving, reflective, executive summary of these. So basically like WikiLeaks, but for science, not for like, hey, collateral murder, these these journalists got killed in action in the war, and it's so sad and tragic, and people should know that. Like, is that fair game? I don't know. And then we have Wikipedia, which is basically like, you can endlessly learn pretty much anything you want about anything, which is also a really good thing. Both of these are really good, but the elephant in the room for me was, why don't we have something for science that basically acts as the double gold-plated platinum standard for what we should be learning? And then I realized it's more of a political issue. Like, this is an offensive photo to people in the West. Chairman Mao, the leader of China, with, I forget his name, Gorbachev was the one that floated the vote across the Union to dissolve it, violating his most sacred duty to protect the integrity of the Union at all costs. Brezhnev was the old mummy guy who was, all I remember him at the United Nations. Apparently the rumor is he was beating his shoe on the podium saying that eventually communism will bury the West or something like that. But he's basically, I think, the most loved leader of the Soviet Union. And he was put himself out there the most. So in order to be able to even interject one thing, like China and Russia playing cards and having a good time and forgetting the very existence of the United States, I have to basically put 75%, I love the U.S., I love the U.S., I love the U.S., and oh, by the way, I'm going to put something about the other 95% of the world that only constitutes 25% of the equation. Because remember, the U.S. is the world leader, #1 in the world right now. So even acknowledging the existence of the other 95% of the world is almost not acceptable, which in my mind is paradoxically not acceptable. And then here are the Obamas, which I think are phenomenal role models, with Ellen DeGeneres, who represents the LGBTQ community, which is, I don't even want to go into it. Like, it's basically not even recognized by the second most powerful power hierarchy in the world, which they have their reasons. It's just... So, just to keep me moving forward on this business plan, at exactly 14 minutes and 59 seconds, I'll end this video, and then when it gets uploaded on YouTube, it'll be exactly 15 minutes. I have this page 500.1. So next year, on the 5th of August, my daughter Sohi will be 10. And then I got 500.1 after the business plan is completed on the 21st of May. Help keep Uncle Joe accountable for the Ironman, send him a birthday card, send him a birthday present, in a roundabout way extrapolate out his weight so that we have an ambient account going on that basically keeps track of him. Just like if you've ever worked for the NSA or the State Department or anything else, you have like profiles of people. You basically have bullet points of what they care about most and prioritizations of their personality profile breakdowns and, all kinds of measurements. Because at some point, it's like, this person's cholesterol is this person's testosterone profile is this, their weight is this, their IQ is this, and then their definition of who they are as a hive unit basically just becomes an aggregation of the numbers. And it's really kind of an Orwellian way to look at it, but it tends to produce the most accurate predictive model. So I don't want to show like details of my daughter's passport here, out of respect to my wife and other people. So top wiki, the goal is to create the greatest degree of human collaboration in science of anything ever invented, balanced with healthy, friendly, ethical competition. And this is my daughter's name, my daughter's birthday. And my goal is to get my daughter, Suhan, to help us, basically, more or less break dualistic thinking in the sciences. So evolve science itself, or the scientific process method, by about 25%. Instead of this versus that, it's these three scenarios basically working together. And so I think of General Wesley Clark, sins of commission, sins of omission, always power of suggestion, just to remember mission first.